In this screencast, we're going to look at creating and testing your first Grails tag library. So you may already be using tag libraries and not even realize that you are. Tag libraries are basically view helpers. They help you accomplish some kind of logic on the presentation layers, so in your layouts or your views. So again, I'm right here in the documentation on Grails. Again, they have such awesome documentation, so I would definitely check this out. So to create a new Grails tag library, you can use the command line, Grails create taglib, and then the name of the tag library. Or you can also give the package there, or you can do it right in the IDE, which we're going to look at in a second. So like I said, you're probably already using them. There's a section for tags underneath there. And so these are the Grails tag library that they give us right out of the box. So if you need to do say an if check. So if we look at that, basically in your presentation layer, in your view, you can use the G. That's the namespace for all of the built-in tag libraries. If, and then there's some kind of attributes that you can pass to it. And again, it helps you accomplish some kind of logic in your view. So today we're going to create our own and do a little testing around it. So if we jump over to our project here, I created just a really basic project called Tag Demo. And today we're going to build a stupid simple one for Twitter Bootstrap that basically writes out the HTML that we want for our Bootstrap classes. So to do that, I installed the Twitter Bootstrap library using the Bootstrap plugin. I kind of just stripped out my layout here just to include the Bootstrap CSS, and I have a blank index. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is, if we come over here and go to tag libraries, I'm going to create a new tag library, and we'll call this Bootstrap. And when that fires up, we'll get to go. So one thing it's going to ask me here is, I kept the test in place so you didn't have to watch me write all this code to test, but so I'm going to say no, I don't want to override that because I want to show you that when we're done here. So let's just get this stuff. Again, we're not going to go into every detail here, but let's just start by creating a simple one. So what we want to do here, let's actually jump over to the index. What I want to do here is, for a real simple one here, I want to be able to type like BS container, and then that kind of write out the HTML that's needed for, really in this case it just writes out div class container. But again, this is a good example to keep it simple. So to do that, first off, I need a namespace. A namespace is basically how you reference your tag. So in our case, it's going to be BS. So that way, when we type BS colon, that's the namespace of the tag library. So let's start off by creating our container. That's our first kind of tag that we want to be able to create. And then each tag library actually passes two attributes. The attribute, which is basically a map of attributes that are passed in the tag, and then the body, which is everything enclosed inside of that tag. So in our case, what we want to do is we just want to print out, so we want to say div class equals, and let's just do this to make it easy. We'll do container. So actually I want to do one thing. So we want to be able, there's two types of classes that we could have. We can have like a class equals container or container fluid. And so if a fluid attribute is passed, I want to pass that in. So an easy way to do that, again, remember all the attributes come in this attributes map. So I want to check for that. So the container class is either going to be container or container fluid. So if attributes.fluid is there and it's true, we're going to use container fluid. If not, we're just going to use container. So now what we can say is div class equals, we'll say container class, and we'll close this bad boy up. And then what we're going to do is we want to pass anything in the body. So if we didn't do this, it would basically just write out this div for us and nothing that was actually in that body of that tag. So that's why we need that call there. And then finally close that. So now if we jump back over to our view, we can basically do something like this. So if we go BS, now you'll see the great thing about the IDE is it gives us that support. So now we know what methods are available to us here. So we can call container, and then if I wanted to pass fluid, I could, but in this case I'm not going to. So now what I want to do is go ahead and just drop this down into here. And again, this isn't going to be terribly exciting, but we'll go ahead and run this. And while this is actually starting up, I'm going to start on the next one. So in my layout, I also have things like rows. So let's create a really basic row here. Oops, sorry. So let's go row is equal to attributes body. And what I want to say is the out is div class equals row. Again, pretty basic. Again, we want whatever's in the body there. Oops. And that's that. So now if we jump back over here, now we can do a BS row. So when we launch this up, are we running here? There we go. So if we look at this, what we want to get out of this is the generated HTML. So we're not going to see anything from that. I got an error. What's the error here? So tag row does not exist. Okay, so we're gonna have to recompile that. So let's just save that and then fire this back up. So now if we look at the page source, you'll see that we don't have that BS container. It actually wrote out what we wanted it to write out. So in this case, again, it was terribly simple, just container. So let's actually pop back. Stop this, and let's finish this up, and then we'll fire it back up again. So the last one I'm going to do is a grid. So especially in Bootstrap 3, that you can have like these funky names like call dash md dash 1 2 3 4, etc. So in this case, we're going to say grid, and we'll go attributes body. Now in this case, if a call is not passed, our columns attribute, we'll just say the default is 12 there. So now let's say div class equals call dash md, and then we'll go attributes.calls, and we'll close that one up. Again, we'll get the body. So that's that. So let's go ahead and fire this one up. So now in my index, I should be able to do something like this. So again, we'll come back, we'll do a row. But now let's say I wanted two columns. So I'll do a BS grid calls. We'll say this one is 8. Maybe we'll say this is our main content, and this one is, we'll do calls is what, 4, and in this case this will be our right sidebar. So that's all there is to it. So now when we have our own markup here using our tag library for Bootstrap, and what we want to see is when we go ahead and jump into this application and view the source, that it's basically rewriting the HTML for us that we want. So in this case we want our container, div class equals row, div class equals call.md-8, and etc. So let's jump in here, and we should see some nice formatted. So again, this is using Bootstrap. We have the nice row here. We have our main content on our right sidebar. If we view the page source, we'll see our class container. Then we have a row. We have our nice little grid here with 8 on one side and 4 on the other. So again, pretty simple, but it gives you a really good idea on how easy it is to create your own tag lib. So now, more importantly, when you create these tag libs, you don't want to have to write, you want to be able to test this stuff, and it's actually really easy to do so. So I'm actually going to use the test that, like I said, I already have one here. I don't want to make you guys have to watch me type all this out. So if we look at this, so one of the things here, when we create a new tag lib for that or a new test for that tag library, one of the things we do is we test for, and that actually brings in a lot of stuff for us. One of those classes is this groovy page unit test mixin, and you'll see in here it's great it has support for testing of tag libraries and GSP pages. And one of the cool methods here is apply template, which will actually take a string and then a map of data that you want to kind of bind to that template. So in our case, our template is our actual our tag library, so like our BS container. So if we jump back over to this test, we have a test here, say for no arguments passed to container, we want that class to just be our container. So here we use our output as apply template, and then we apply BS container, and then say this was the body. So that should write out just that container class. Well, and the other scenario is if somebody passes in fluid, we want to make sure that it's writing out BS class equals container dash fluid. And so again, that'll check that. We can have like a simple check on our row. We can do some crazy stuff with with the where statement here. These data maps in Spock, which are really cool. So here we have for each one of our columns that are available, we're just testing that it's writing out the right thing. And then finally, we have a full example here of everything. So we have our container, our row, and our grid, and all we're doing is saying, hey, this is our template, this is the output, and here's what we expect that output to be for that template. So again, pretty simple, but easy to create and easy to test. So now I could go ahead and package this up and give it to somebody. Now, again, this is a basic example, but just with these basic building blocks, you can go out and build your own tag libraries. So I hope you found this useful. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.